Can photography change our lives? In fact, nay, I actually wanted to rephrase that today. Can photography change your life? Make it a little bit more direct. Yes, photography surrounds us. In the last 170 years since the first cameras, it has contributed and influenced our lives and knowledge, our understanding, the history of our people, society, anthropology, science and technology, not to mention art and aesthetics. Photography surrounds us and contributes to all of this every day. It has attracted many, many passionate followers over the 150 years that it has been around. Until by the mid-20th century or so, there were millions of people all over the world who were taking pictures. But it was still an expensive hobby. Cameras were expensive, film was expensive, and it was something that we were limited by the number of photographs that one could take in a single roll of film. But by the time this happened, photography was here to stay. In the early 2000s, the advent of digital technology and the age of digital cameras came in, and there was a veritable explosion of photographs around the world. The invention of the smartphone camera and almost instantaneous adoption of this, along with the proliferation of social media, led to a spectacular growth in the number of images taken and shared across all these platforms. This I refer to as the democratization of photography. And suddenly, it was accessible to everybody. And the proliferation of images led to like visual overload. In fact, some of the statistics, I like to share these statistics because they really boggle the mind. If you think of social media and the kind of photographs we're surrounded by today, a Facebook photo uploads 300 million pictures every day. Every 60 seconds on Facebook, 136,000 photographs are uploaded. There are 1 billion people on Instagram, 500 million daily users, 50 billion photographs shared to date, uploads of photos and videos, 100 million plus posts every day, and 90% of the top 100 brands are on Instagram. Now, with so many pictures, obviously standards have dropped, and mediocrity thrives amongst the sameness that perpetuates our lives and our culture. We arm ourselves with data and information and are bombarded with this visual clutter with so much of it is referred to actually as visual communications. But communicating what? Big question. Superficial thought and ideas. What's missing really in most of the photographs is wisdom and insight. Yet, so many people are gravitating towards photography, and from practically every walk of life, from every corner of the world, people are contributing to these pictures. Even those who don't necessarily want to make it a profession feel a deep-rooted compulsion to do it. And some even want to get better at it. But why? These are the few people who are overwhelmed by the timelessness and beauty and have benefited by the connections they have made between themselves and their subjects. These are people who have learned over a period of time to be passionate about photography. And these people who make up today's living and breathing photographic community have become our eyes and our windows to the world. Whether they call themselves photographers or artists or journalists, they are passionate, emerging voices in the visual world. And they inform us, they inspire us, and they amaze us. They put our world both within reach and place it within the broader context of history. Well, if all of you have smartphones, and if you want to become a part of that community, well, I have good news for you. Photography is the most accessible of all art forms on this planet. It is extremely easy to learn. Whether you take it up seriously or make it a profession or just carry on a hobby, it can be incredibly satisfying and enlightening to take photographs and create images of the world around us. The understanding that follows when photographs speak to us and move us works at so many different levels. But how can photography change our lives? How can it really change your life and the world we live in? Photography has added to our knowledge and understanding of the world around us and has changed the world over the last 150 years in dramatic ways. It continues to influence our lives, in many, many ways. And through it, we have the opportunity to explore people, cultures, the opportunity to learn about people around the world. It changes our concepts of time and place and the speed of its passing, and most importantly, it allows us to be creative. I think everybody with a smartphone camera has always tried different things with it. For me personally, it has opened my eyes to architecture and the arts, and has taught me to focus and to appreciate the world around me. Human contact and communication is essential for the future of our planet. In a world where we have all grown so distant from each other, where we tread on the same soil and share the same space, we have practically lost touch with each other. Basic human experiences of conversations and discussions, as well as genuine friendships, have all but vanished. These things don't happen on Facebook or on Instagram or on blogs or LinkedIn or Twitter. They happen outside the world of the internet. These things occur in the real world. And taking photographs is a powerful way to reestablish these connections. Make an attempt to reconnect with others. We all have that innate desire within us to make human contact, to make connections, to share something. And every kind of photography gives us that opportunity to interact with people. And for me, the act of taking pictures is actually a very powerful metaphor for touch. Because the act of taking pictures is actually like reaching out and touching something or touching someone. Photography can help break these walls and boundaries. And touch is involved at every stage of taking pictures, from approaching a subject, a person or people, to the actual act of taking a picture, to the final finished and shared image. Photography is akin to reaching out and making contact with the world around us. In fact, making contact or reaching out and touching the world around us is the essential significance of taking pictures. But all this has changed. People have very little value for the past. The evocative experience of poring over an album and listening to stories over a dining table or sitting with friends is gone. I remember a small little incident a couple of years ago, when I was sitting with a group of friends, and somebody pulled out an old album of old college pictures, and we all sat around this table, and we were looking at the old pictures and laughing and remembering the old days. And suddenly I realized that experience is gone. It's no more. Today, you don't have people making print and putting them into albums, and the act of sharing that has become so anonymous and become so meaningless. So over the last 150 years, photography has played a significant role in helping us find our place in the world. But in today's world of chaos and change, what can photography still do for us? It can teach us to look at the world differently. It can refresh our vision. It can help us to focus, to slow down, and experience and really explore new places and things. In a sense, to bring order into chaos. Recent awareness of architecture and design in our environment has contributed to its popularity and preeminence, and has made it the subject matter for so much photography. The single role of architecture has always been to bring order into our environments. And architecture was the very first subject matter for photography. Buildings were the only thing that didn't move, and with long exposures that were required in the old days, buildings and ruins were the obvious subjects. Architecture also aroused curiosity. It raised questions of origin, ratio, proportion, details, materials, 100 other things. It talked about rulers, the patrons who inspired and financed these buildings. What would be their defining character or intentions? What was the culture or era that existed at the time these buildings were built? So all these questions were answered, and through that curiosity, architecture became a very, very major subject for photography. But what do we learn from these hidden photographic gems that have come to define our past and present, about the attitudes and circumstances that motivate them? All this knowledge and understanding comes through photography and architecture, like Frank Lloyd Wright says, is that great spirit that permeates all things, living and non-living, all of creation. But how does all this define who we are today? Why photograph or document buildings? What's the big deal in old houses and monuments? This is where the value of lessons from the past come in. We learn about attitudes, motives, intentions. We learn about working for a greater cause, the greater good. We learn about dedication and commitment. We learn about pride in achievements and quality, but humility, not arrogance, the triumph of craftsmanship. So what has changed and what has all this got to do with photography? A good book acts like a mirror to ourselves. It makes us reflect upon who we are and what drives us. A great photograph does that the same. It acts not just like a mirror to us, but it provides a lens that is many, many more times powerful than an X-ray. It allows us to look into the past. And if we look hard enough in that process, we can actually travel through time. A great photograph offers insight, that privilege of seeing and then understanding that can contribute immensely to our lives and to our work. But what really is insight, and how can it affect change? Insight is an unrecognized but fundamental human truth, a new way of viewing the world that causes us to re-examine existing conventions and challenge the status quo. A penetrating observation about human behavior that results in seeing people from a fresh perspective, and a discovery about the underlying motivations that drive people's actions. The photography offers us the opportunity to really delve deeper into everything around us. This is the era of photography. Everyone takes photographs now. There is inspiration all around us for those who make the effort to slow down and see. We have the tools, everyone has the tools. Now all you need is unrelenting curiosity, the insatiable hunger to seek answers. Photography adds to our overall knowledge and brings about clarity in helping you even to determine what to do with your life. Today, our lives today are filled with that single-minded pursuit of wealth, and our minds are preoccupied with profits, business. Sadly, this is often accompanied by dissatisfaction, home, workplace. Photography can help by completely changing your outlook on life. A changed outlook can contribute to making us all better human beings and can help us to become more reliable and responsible guardians of this very fragile earth. Change is happening, and the world of images is driving that change. We are in the middle of it, and photography is the tool. It can be a weapon. Realizing that photography is not just a visual language, but it is also a universal language, which when mastered is the most powerful form of communication we have today. But the approach today is very myopic. It's very short-sighted, very much in the moment and just for now. So we go out and take photographs so that we can post them on Instagram or whatever and get immediate feedback or reassurance that we're doing a good job or that we have a good life. But we must make the effort too, and I mean all of us, not just creative images for today, like so many millions of photographers do, but photograph our world as a legacy for the future. To leave behind a record of something that people will look at and wonder. It spreads images a lot wider and a lot deeper into history. You might claim that your photographs are not good enough due to the camera you wish you had, or you could buy more of that gear, but photography isn't about equipment, nor is it about your mastery of the technology, because that's speeding up and changing all the time. All the equipment in the world are just tools, and a good tool to be simple, a good tool has to be simple for you to master the process first. Your phone, it has everything in it for two critical things that you need to learn and master for you to get better at seeing and understanding the world around you: light and composition. The very word photography comes from the Latin terms photon and graphos, particles of light and drawing or painting. Hence, photograph actually means painting with light. Being photographically aware is being more life aware of what's going on around you. And being photographically aware also means being light aware, noticing and capturing good light. That's a major part of what you need to learn as a photographer. Light helps you to discern everything in its presence: shapes, forms, patterns, textures, colors. And the second thing is composition. To be able to take a photograph and then all the various elements in the photograph, to position them in the right place, is really something that practice will just make you better at it. So to arrange all these elements into coherent image, this is composition, and a major component of learning to be a successful photographer. Whether an extrovert or an introvert, the clutter and clamor of people is a continuous distraction for all of us, and not conducive to the quiet and calm mind required to take good photographs. When you find yourself continuously busy and preoccupied with work and constantly doing things for others, take back occasionally the time and space that belongs to you. No one can constantly take holidays to exotic destinations, but you can take 30 minutes off and take a walk with your camera. A walk will slow you down and allow your mind to wander and drift towards the things that are surrounding you, and hopefully see them and photographing them differently, in a new light, so to speak. So each and every one of you can potentially be a good photographer and can really contribute to everything that we do in this world, and actually photography, you will realize, can change your life. So all the very best with your photography. Thank you.